Hello friends, welcome to the Night Watchman channel. Today I'm going to tell you a terrifying and thrilling creepy horror story that will make you feel the chill of fear. If you enjoy my story, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can feel your love and support through your likes and subscriptions. I never thought grocery shopping could change my life. Not in the dramatic headline-making way, but in the quiet, bone-deep sense that something ordinary had turned permanently unsafe. It was late October, the kind of crisp, wind-bitten night that made our small town of Riverside, Kentucky, feel emptier than usual. The roads gleamed under streetlights, slick from an early drizzle, and the hum of my car's heater was the only sound filling the silence. My name's Daniel Cruz, 27 years old, warehouse worker by day, restless insomniac by night. My girlfriend, Elena Martinez, sat beside me, legs folded up in the passenger seat, scrolling on her phone. She was finishing her nursing degree, juggling 12-hour shifts and night classes. Between her schedule and mine, our time together had boiled down to these odd-hour errands. That's why our late-night Walmart runs had become kind of sacred, our small ritual. "Tell me again why we're doing this at midnight," I asked, smirking as I pulled into the half-empty parking lot of the Walmart Supercenter on Redwood Drive. She didn't look up. "Because it's payday and you said we wouldn't keep eating ramen and frozen burritos." I said we'd try not to. She gave me that look, half serious, half teasing, the one that always won. "Daniel," I sighed and killed the engine. "Fine, but if I fall asleep in the bread aisle again, you're dragging me out." She laughed, that easy, bright laugh that had hooked me from the start. "Deal." We got out. The parking lot lights hummed overhead, buzzing like old fluorescent bulbs. A handful of cars were scattered near the entrance. A couple of sedans, a pickup truck, a dented SUV. Somewhere near the edge of the lot, a delivery truck's engine idled low, sending out a steady rumble. Inside, the world felt still. The air carried that familiar Walmart mix. Floor wax, plastic packaging, and faint fried grease from the McDonald's near the doors. The store felt cavernous, almost too quiet. A janitor in earbuds guided a floor buffer in lazy circles near the registers. Two stock clerks were slicing open boxes near the Halloween aisle, the sound of tape tearing echoing down the long, polished corridors. It should have felt safe, normal. But that night something was off. We grabbed a cart and started through the produce section. Elena's hair fell loose around her face as she compared apples, muttering about prices. I trailed behind, tossing random snacks into the cart when she wasn't looking. She caught me halfway through a bag of chips. "Daniel, seriously? Look, these are 2 for $5. That's basically saving money." She rolled her eyes. "That's not how math works." We laughed, and for a few minutes, it felt like any other night, until she leaned in close and whispered, her voice low, shaky. "Don't look now, but I think that guy's watching us." I froze. "What guy?" "Back near the bananas. Tall, dark jacket. He's been there since we walked in." I turned my head slightly, pretending to check a price tag, and there he was. A tall man, maybe 6 feet, wearing a black hoodie with the hood up. Thin, pale. He wasn't pretending to shop. No cart, no basket. Just standing there. I tried to shrug it off. "Maybe he's waiting for someone." Elena frowned. "Then why hasn't he moved?" We changed aisles. I told myself I was being paranoid, but every few minutes I'd catch him again. Same distance, same angle. When we went to frozen foods, he stood near the end of the aisle, pretending to check a freezer door. When we cut to cleaning supplies, he appeared by paper towels, hands buried deep in his hoodie pocket. "Okay, this is weird," Elena whispered. "He's following us." My stomach tightened. "Let's test it." We pushed the cart faster, cutting through baby clothes, then electronics, then doubled back through kitchenware. The sound of the cart's squeaky wheel echoed in the empty aisles. I risked another glance. He was there, still watching, that faint grin. I could see it now, wide, unsettling, almost eager. "Elena," I said quietly, "we're leaving." Now we headed toward the front, our pace quickening. I could hear her breathing, fast, shaky. The automatic doors were maybe 50 feet away when a voice called out behind us. "Hey, you two! Stop right there." We froze. It was the man. He was striding toward us now, fast, and his voice carried authority. "Store security. You've been acting suspicious." "Excuse me," I said, turning. He flashed something. A badge, maybe? But it was too quick to see clearly. "You need to come with me," he said. Elena stepped closer to me. "We didn't do anything." The man's eyes narrowed. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Before I could respond, another voice barked from the side. "Hands where I can see them." A second man appeared, this one in a Walmart vest, radio clipped to his belt. Behind him, a third figure emerged from the clothing racks, also in plain clothes. I felt adrenaline surge. "Look, we're just shopping. You can check our cart, our receipt." "Not another word," the first man snapped, closing the distance. "You match the description of a theft suspect. Step aside." "Then call the police," I said, forcing calm. "We're not," he lunged. The impact knocked the breath out of me. My back slammed into the linoleum. He drove a knee into my chest, forcing my arms behind me. "What the hell?" I gasped. Elena screamed, "Get off him!" "You're hurting him." The man's face twisted. "Stay back, ma'am, or you're next." The other two piled on. My wrists burned as they cinched metal cuffs tight. A crowd had formed. A few night shift employees, a janitor, some customers staring wide-eyed. "I'm not the guy," I yelled. "Check my ID." One of them kicked my side. "Stop resisting." "I'm not resisting." Then flashing lights strobed through the glass doors. Police. Relief flooded me for half a second, until one officer grabbed me, slammed me face first into a shelf and shouted, "Victor Duran, you're under arrest for felony theft." "What? That's not my name." "Sure it isn't." I looked at Elena, panic in her eyes. "Tell them. Tell them my name." She held up her phone, recording. "His name is Daniel Cruz. He didn't steal anything." "Put that phone down," one cop warned. She didn't. "You're making a mistake," I shouted. But before I could say more, the officer slammed me again. My head cracked against tile. White spots burst behind my eyes. The last thing I heard before everything blurred was Elena screaming my name. When I came to, I was in holding. Concrete walls, the smell of bleach and stale coffee, a guard chewing gum behind bulletproof glass. "Please," I said hoarsely, "check my ID. I'm Daniel Cruz." He scanned it lazily. "Says here, Daniel Cruz." He frowned. "Wait, that's not who they booked." No kidding, it took 18 hours before someone finally compared my mugshot to the real suspect. Victor Duran, a shoplifter arrested the same night in another county. Similar height, same hair color. That was it. They released me without apology, just handed me a plastic bag with my things. Elena was waiting outside, eyes red, voice shaking. "They posted the video. It's everywhere." I blinked in the sunlight, disoriented. "What video?" "Mine." She held up her phone. "It went viral. People are furious. They're saying it's racial profiling. They're calling Walmart out. The police too. I didn't know whether to feel relief or rage. A week later, lawyers called. Statements, paperwork, media requests, all of it blurred together. Everyone wanted to know what it felt like. But how do you explain humiliation that deep? The way a single night rewires your brain? Even now, months later, I can't step into a Walmart without my heart pounding. Every squeaky wheel, every passing glance feels loaded. I flinch when I hear someone behind me. And sometimes, when the aisles are too quiet, when the lights flicker overhead, I swear I still see him. That same grin, that same gray hoodie, standing just beyond the shelves, watching. Maybe it's memory. Maybe it's something else. Either way, I don't shop at night anymore. Not anywhere. Story 2, I never planned on working security, let alone in loss prevention. To be honest, I kind of stumbled into it. For 2 years, I'd been doing the graveyard shift at the Rockfield Supercenter, a massive Walmart right off the interstate. The kind of place that never really slept. The blue and gray sign buzzed in the cold night air like a neon heart that refused to die. Inside, it was the same thing every night. Fluorescent lights, the smell of cardboard and disinfectant, and the hum of stockroom fans echoing down the aisles. I'd come in at 10 p.m. sharp, throw on my vest, and start unloading pallets. Sometimes I'd go hours without saying a word to another human being. Just me, my box cutter, and the endless rhythm of scanning barcodes. It was boring, yeah, but there was a strange peace in that boredom. My name's Ryan Calloway, 27, born and raised in Evansville, Indiana. I wasn't chasing a career, just trying to stay afloat. Rent, bills, gas, repeat. I dropped out of community college after my mom passed, and every temporary job since had turned into something permanent. But all that changed one night when Tom Rooker, our new store manager, decided to restructure. Tom was ex-Army, the kind of guy who ironed his polo shirts and called every meeting a briefing. He was polite enough, but you could tell he missed barking orders. One night around 3 a.m., he caught me restocking chips near the front registers. "You're alert," he said out of nowhere, hands on his hips. "Got good instincts. Ever think about moving into loss prevention?" I blinked. Loss prevention? Yeah, plainclothes security. You blend in. You're quiet, observant. It's not glamorous, but it pays better. Plus, you'd be off the overnight shift. I thought about my aching back and my destroyed sleep schedule. More money, regular hours. It sounded like salvation. "Yeah," I said finally, "I'll do it." That was the start. 3 weeks later, I was walking the aisles in jeans and a gray hoodie, pushing an empty cart, pretending to be another customer. No name tag, no uniform. My job was to watch people, patterns, body language. It was harder than I'd expected. Shoplifters weren't master criminals. They were desperate people. A tired dad slipping batteries into his coat. A teenager pocketing makeup. A homeless guy trying to walk out with deli meat. You learn not to judge, just to intercept before things got messy. Most nights were routine, quiet, until that Thursday. The store was packed. It always was on Thursdays. Payday for half the town. Families stocked up for the week, couples argued over grocery lists, and kids darted between aisles like caffeinated rabbits. I was near the back, close to electronics, pretending to scroll my phone, when I saw her. She stood out immediately, an older woman, heavy-set, sitting in one of the store's motorized scooters, pale, almost gray under the lights, like her skin had been drained of warmth. She wore 3, maybe 4 layers, baggy sweaters hanging off her shoulders, sleeves bunched at her wrists. Nothing unusual about that on paper, but something about the way she moved, jerky, unsteady, made my gut tighten. Her name tag on the scooter read, "Property of Store 1387. She wasn't a regular. Her eyes caught mine for a split second. Sharp, narrow, aware. I looked away quickly, pretending to examine a clearance bin of headphones. But when I glanced back, she was still staring. Not curious, not confused, just staring, like she knew exactly who I was and why I was watching her. Then she spun the scooter around and disappeared into the next aisle. I kept my distance. In loss prevention, the rule is simple. Never make them feel hunted. Watch, don't chase. I looped around through frozen foods, scanning the aisles casually. A minute later, I spotted her again near the dairy section. Only something was different. Her shape looked heavier, rounder, like her midsection had swollen under the layers. I frowned. That wasn't just sweaters. I followed her, slowly, casually, keeping a few carts between us. Every time we crossed paths, she'd glance over her shoulder, then duck down another aisle. At one point, she stopped near pet supplies and looked straight at me. "You got a problem?" she barked. Her voice was deeper than I expected. Gravelly. I froze. "What?" "No, ma'am." "Then stop stalking me," she snapped. Her eyes burned with anger, or fear. "I see you everywhere I go." "It's a store," I said, forcing a nervous laugh. "Small world." She muttered something under her breath, something like, "They always send someone new." Then she sped off toward the home section. That should have been my cue to back off, but I didn't. Something about her didn't sit right. I radioed my coworker, Lena, who was covering the front exits. "Hey, I got a suspicious female in home goods using a scooter. Multiple bulky layers. Might be concealing," her voice crackled back. "Copy that. Want backup?" "Not yet," I said. "I'll approach." I found her near the end of an aisle, pretending to compare blenders. "Ma'am," I said gently, approaching from the side, "I'm with store security. Can I talk to you for a second?" Her head jerked toward me. "You? You ain't no security. I work loss prevention, I said calmly. We've noticed some unusual activity. I just need to check that. You got nothing on me, she hissed. Nothing. Ma'am, I can see the corner of a box under your sweater. Right there, she looked down sharply, then grinned. A wide, unnerving grin. That's my nipple, you pervert. I froze. A young couple down the aisle stopped and stared. Please, ma'am, I said, lowering my voice. Don't make this harder than it has to be. That's when she snapped. She slammed her hand on the throttle, and the scooter lurched forward, straight into my shins. Pain shot up my legs. I stumbled backward into a display of microwaves. Back off, she screamed, voice cracking like an animal's snarl. Ma'am, stop! I reached for the scooter's kill switch and flipped it. The motor died instantly. She let out a sound, half growl, half moan, and lunged off the scooter. That's when I realized how wrong I'd been. She wasn't slow. She wasn't weak. She moved fast, dropping her weight on me, her nails clawing at my face. The smell hit me first. Rot, sweat, spoiled milk, something alive and dead all at once. Get off me, I yelled, shoving her shoulders. Her mouth twisted, lips trembling. You think you can stop me? Her breath was hot and sour against my cheek. Her eyes, God, those eyes, looked like they'd been painted on. Too wide, too glassy. I threw my weight forward, rolling her off. She hit the tile with a thud and started crawling toward the scooter. Her fingers dragged, leaving faint streaks of something dark on the white floor. I scrambled up, heart pounding. Stay down. She didn't listen. By now, shoppers had gathered at the ends of the aisle. Phones were up. Someone yelled, He's attacking her. No, I shouted. She assaulted me. Before I could say more, Lena arrived with 2 officers in tow. They pulled the woman up, cuffed her, and started searching her layers. Out came a box cutter, 2 packs of razors, an electric pencil sharpener, a small jar of God knows what wrapped in tissue. Her name was Dolores Brigson, 66 years old. Multiple priors for shoplifting, trespassing, resisting arrest. When they hauled her past me, she turned her head, eyes burning. You'll regret this, she whispered. You'll see me again. I should have brushed it off. Just another arrest. Another unstable customer. But that night, I couldn't shake it. I sat in my car in the empty lot long after closing. The parking lot lights buzzed overhead, moths spinning in their glow. I replayed every second. Her face, her weight, the smell. The way her skin looked wrong, like it didn't quite fit. And then something else hit me. When she tackled me, her sweaters had slipped. For a brief moment, I saw what was underneath. Not skin, not exactly. Something like plastic, stretched tight, a thin line running down her chest like a seam. I tried to tell myself it was the shock, adrenaline, the brain filling in blanks it didn't understand. But that night around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I answered. Hello? Static. Then a faint raspy voice. Still watching? My throat went dry. Who is this? A low laugh crackled through the line. You'll see me again. The call ended. I stared at the screen until it dimmed, my reflection pale and hollow in the glass. I quit 2 days later, told Tom I needed a mental break. He didn't argue. But every time I drive past that Walmart now, I slow down. I look at the front doors, at the shoppers coming and going under the bright blue glow. Sometimes I swear I see her scooter parked near the carts, empty, waiting, and I wonder if maybe she wasn't stealing anything that night. Maybe she was testing me. Maybe she was waiting for someone to notice. And I did. God help me, I did. Hello friends, I hope you're enjoying this story. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button so you can get a new story every day. Story 3, I came to the United States with my daughter just over 2 years ago, and to this day I still don't know if it was courage or desperation that pushed me to do it. Back home in Hyderabad, everything made sense. Even the chaos, the clatter of buses, the shouting vendors, the smell of roasted peanuts on every corner. I knew every sound, every face, every rhythm of that life. Here in Ohio, everything was cold, quiet in a way that made my skin itch. When I left India, I told myself I was doing it for my daughter, Mira. She was 17 then, all books and notebooks and dreams that couldn't fit in one life. She wanted to study architecture, to design something lasting, something that made her name worth remembering. The plan had been simple. She and I would come first, find work, save money. My husband Rajesh and our son Arjun would follow once things were stable. It was supposed to be temporary, just 2 years, but dreams are always more expensive than they first appear. Our first months in the US were brutal. Rent drained us. Tuition drained us. Food prices made my stomach turn. We shared a small basement flat in a fading building outside Columbus, the kind that always smelled faintly of mildew, no matter how many candles you lit. We needed jobs fast, and Brightmart, a massive 24-hour retail store built like a small city, was the only place willing to hire immigrants with limited experience. I started as a customer service associate. Mira joined the bakery department part-time after school. The fluorescent lights buzzed constantly, the floors always slick from overused cleaning fluid, the air heavy with the scent of sugar and disinfectant. At first I was grateful. A paycheck meant survival. But gratitude doesn't last long when exhaustion sets in. Managers piled hours on us like bricks, 60 hours a week for me sometimes. No overtime explained properly. When I asked about it, they smiled politely and said, "We'll look into it, Priya." They never did. Mira tried to stay positive. She was the kind of girl who smiled even when her hands were burned from the ovens, who came home at midnight smelling of dough and exhaustion, and still said, "Don't worry, Amma. It'll get better," but I could see the cracks. December came early that year. The first snow hit hard, white sheets across cracked sidewalks, frozen slush at every curb. That morning, the sky was the color of dirty steel. Mira stood by the window, tying her hair, her breath fogging the glass. "Do you ever miss the noise?" she asked softly. I smiled faintly. "You mean home?" She nodded. "Every single day," I said. She gave a small laugh. "Sometimes I think this place is too quiet, like it's waiting for something bad to happen." "Don't say that," I told her, half joking, half afraid. She shrugged. "Just feels that way sometimes." We bundled up and walked to the bus stop, boots crunching through the ice. She slipped her gloved hand into mine, and for a moment, the world didn't feel so heavy. It was Thursday, December 14th. We both had the morning shift, me at customer service, Mira in the bakery. We always met for lunch at 1 p.m., sharing the tiffin I packed, rice, sabzi, maybe a little pickle if we were lucky. By 12:55, I was in the break room, phone in hand, waiting. The room buzzed with the hum of vending machines. I texted her, "You coming, Bada?" No reply. At 1:10, I called. It rang 3 times, then went to voicemail. "Mira? It's Amma. Are you okay?" I waited, staring at the door, but she didn't come. When my break ended, I told my supervisor, "My daughter hasn't shown up." "She works in bakery. Can I check?" He frowned. "We're short-staffed, Priya." "She's probably just running late. Get back on the desk." Something twisted inside me. When my shift ended at 5, she still hadn't texted. I waited by the front doors and scanning every face leaving the store. No Mira. Panic set in. I ran back inside, checked every aisle, bakery, stockroom, bathrooms, the freezer room. Nothing. Finally, near the bakery, I saw 3 of her co-workers talking quietly by the prep area. One of them, a tall blonde girl named Tessa, was smirking. "Excuse me," I said, breathless. "Where's Mira? Have you seen her?" They exchanged glances. Tessa said, "Maybe she went home early." She looked tired. "She never leaves without telling me." The boy beside her laughed under his breath. "What's funny?" I snapped. "Nothing, ma'am," he said too quickly. Something in my stomach turned to ice. I went straight to the store manager's office. "My daughter is missing," I said. "She was supposed to work the bakery this morning. No one's seen her." The manager, Mr. Collins, sighed. "Ma'am, I'm sure she just stepped out or went home. It's been a busy day. Maybe she forgot to clock out." "She wouldn't," I shouted, louder than I meant to. He frowned. "Please calm down." "We can't alarm customers." I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Two officers arrived within 15 minutes. The store was still open, people still shopping, completely unaware that my world was coming apart. The police asked the manager for security footage. He hesitated, mumbling something about company policy. One of the officers gave him a look that made him move faster. I followed them as they checked each department. When we reached the bakery, one of the officers pointed to the back. "What's that door?" "The oven room," said Tessa, her voice suddenly quiet. The officer looked at me. "Can you open it?" My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd faint. I pushed the door open. A wave of heat hit my face. Inside, the industrial oven glowed faintly. The smell, sweet and burned and wrong, filled the air. I stumbled forward. "Stop!" one of the officers shouted, grabbing my arm. Through the small glass window of the oven, I saw a shape. Something curled, blackened, small. My scream tore through the store, so loud that people dropped their shopping baskets in turn. They pulled me back, but I kept screaming her name. "Mira!" The next hours blurred into a nightmare. Police tape, reporters outside, managers whispering about containment and liability. Detectives told me the oven couldn't be closed or turned on from the inside. Someone had to do it. No one from the bakery staff said a word. Tessa quit the next morning. So did the boy. Collins took administrative leave. Corporate sent representatives who spoke like machines. We're cooperating fully with authorities. Our thoughts are with the family. They never said her name. I went home that night and sat in the dark, staring at her half-finished sketchbook on the table. Pencil lines of buildings she'd never see, ideas she'd never build. When Rajesh and Arjun arrived weeks later, I could barely look at them. Rajesh held me as I cried, whispering, "We'll fight for her. We'll make them answer." But Brightmart had lawyers, insurance, silence. We had grief. It's been 11 months since that night. They still haven't charged anyone. Sometimes I go to the store parking lot just to sit there. They remodeled the bakery, changed the name, even replaced the ovens. But every time I pass by, I swear I can still smell that burned sweetness in the air. Last week, a new hire told me she felt hot spots in the back room at night, like someone breathing warm air against her neck. I told her to quit. No one listens. Yesterday, I got a call from one of the night shift workers. He said the oven light turns on by itself sometimes. Said he saw a handprint on the glass, small and blackened. He asked if I believed in ghosts. I told him no, but when I hung up, I turned and looked at Mira's photo on the wall. For a second, I could swear her lips were curved, not in a smile, but something sadder, something waiting. And sometimes in the quiet of night, I hear the faintest sound, like the hum of an oven starting up, coming from nowhere at all. I close my eyes and whisper, "I'm still here, Beta. I won't stop until they remember you." The warmth lingers a moment longer before it fades. Story 4. I never meant to be the one who cooked for the apartment. If you'd told me a year ago that I'd be the guy experimenting with recipes and checking spice labels like my life depended on it, I would have laughed. Back home in Eugene, I barely knew how to make a sandwich without burning the bread. But when I moved to Portland with my roommates, Josh and Devin, everything changed. Rent was brutal. Groceries cost twice what they did back home. And splitting bills meant we couldn't afford to live the way we used to. So someone had to start cooking, and somehow that ended up being me. At first it was survival cooking, pasta, eggs, canned soup. But then I started watching cooking channels on YouTube, learning how to make actual meals. I'd call my mom when I got stuck, and she'd talk me through recipes over the phone while I scribbled notes on the back of grocery receipts. After a while, cooking stopped being just a chore. It became grounding, something that made our crappy little apartment feel like home. Josh worked long shifts at a car rental place, Devin bartended till 2 a.m., and I was juggling classes at Portland State and a part-time job at a bookstore. We were all exhausted, but when we sat down for dinner, it felt like the world slowed down a little. That's why when everything went wrong that night, it hit so much harder. It was a Friday night in early March. Gray skies, drizzle, that constant Oregon dampness that clings to your clothes. Josh was rolling a joint, Devin had a beer in hand, and I was sunk into the couch watching some survival show. "Man, these guys suck," Josh muttered, exhaling smoke. They haven't even made a fire yet. Devin chuckled. Yeah, bro, you'd last 2 hours out there. Tops, Josh pointed at him. Hey, I grew up camping. I know my way around. An air mattress, Devin interrupted, laughing. I grinned, half listening. My stomach growled quietly. You guys hungry? Always, Devin said, tipping his bottle. But we're broke, so unless you're pulling pizza out of thin air. Josh turned to me with a smirk. Don't you still have that cooking phase going on? I rolled my eyes. Phase? Dude, Ash, you loved that chili last week. Yeah, but that was leftovers, Josh said. You think you can top that right now? I leaned forward. Bet I can. Homemade burgers, fries too. Devin blinked. You serious? Dead serious. We got buns, but no beef. I'll run to the store real quick, Josh groaned. Bro, it's almost 10:30. You really want to do a grocery run this late? Walmart's open till 11, I said, already pulling on my jacket. You two just set the table. I'll handle the rest. Dude's a hero, Devin said dramatically. Or an idiot, Josh muttered, grinning. The drive to Walmart was short, maybe 10 minutes down Burnside, past the shuttered coffee shops and glowing convenience stores. The rain had slowed to a mist, streetlights reflecting off puddles. I remember thinking how quiet everything felt, like the whole city had turned down its volume. The parking lot was mostly empty when I pulled in. A few scattered cars, a semi parked near the edge. Inside, the automatic doors hissed open, releasing that sterile wave of cold air and too bright light. I grabbed a cart, pushed through the entrance, and nearly collided with someone coming out. A guy in a black hoodie. He slammed into my shoulder hard enough to spin me sideways. Yo, watch it, I said. He didn't even glance back, just laughed under his breath and darted through the sliding doors into the store. Something about that laugh. It didn't sound right. Not drunk, not high. Just off. He was maybe mid-20s, thin, pale, hair greasy and sticking out from under the hood. There was a twitch to the way he moved, like he couldn't stand still for long. Whatever. I told myself not to make a big deal out of it. People are weird. It's Portland. I went straight for produce, pulling out my list, lettuce, tomatoes, onions, when I spotted him again. The hoodie guy. He was standing by the apples, phone out, recording himself. Okay, guys, he muttered, voice loud enough to carry across the aisle. Check this out. He zoomed his camera in on a pile of cucumbers and snorted like it was the funniest thing in the world. I pretended to study a bag of potatoes, watching him out of the corner of my eye. Then he looked up, right at me. Our eyes met for half a second before I quickly turned away. He started laughing again, louder this time, like it was part of the bit. I tried to ignore him, grabbing what I needed. When I turned toward the meat section, I caught a glimpse of him again, this time spraying something from a small metal can onto a display of apples. I froze. It was quick. Just a few short bursts, then he tucked the can into his sleeve. My brain tried to explain it away. Cleaning spray? Deodorant? Some stupid prank? But then he turned around and saw me. Stop watching me, he said flatly. I'm not, I replied, keeping my voice even. He stepped closer, eyes wide and glassy. You think you're better than me? What? Dude, You disgust me, he hissed. People like you. You deserve what's coming. I felt my pulse spike. All right, man, just chill. He smiled. Not like a joke, but like a secret. Oh, I'm chill. Then he laughed, sharp and wrong, before walking off. I stood there for a long moment, hands shaking slightly. One of the night employees glanced over, but didn't seem to notice anything strange. I should have told someone. I should have said something. Instead, I just hurried to get my stuff. Ground beef, buns, condiments, and checked out fast. The cashier was half asleep. When I left, the parking lot was nearly empty. My reflection in the glass doors looked pale, shaken. I told myself to forget it. Back home, the smell of sizzling burgers filled the kitchen, cutting through the tension that had followed me from the store. Josh was making dumb jokes. Devin was setting out paper plates, and for a while it felt normal again. We ate like we hadn't seen food in days. By midnight, the dishes were done, the laughter had faded, and we'd all crashed. That's when the pain started. At first, I thought it was a stomach cramp. Maybe I'd undercooked the meat, but within minutes, I was on the floor, vomiting so hard I couldn't breathe. My vision tunneled. From the hallway, I heard Devin gagging, Josh cursing. Bro, what the hell? Josh gasped, clutching his stomach. I could barely answer. My hands trembled as I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The paramedics came fast. Sirens, flashlights, stretchers. The next thing I remember was the hospital ceiling, white and spinning. Food poisoning, they said. Severe. They were surprised we'd even managed to call for help. The guilt hit me like a wave. My cooking, my ingredients, my idea. I'd poisoned my friends. Josh tried to reassure me when we were finally stable. Dude, you didn't mean to. I made it, man, I snapped, tears stinging my eyes. I bought it. I cooked it. I killed us. He didn't have a response. 4 days later, I was sitting in my hospital bed when the nurse turned the TV on. Breaking news. Police in Portland have arrested a 27-year-old man identified as Eric Hall after videos surfaced showing him spraying chemicals on fresh produce and meat at a Walmart on East Burnside. I froze. There he was. Hoodie, greasy hair, the same crooked grin. In the clip, he held his phone close, laughing as he sprayed shelves of fruit and packaged ground beef. This'll teach people, he said in the video. They think they're better than me. My stomach dropped. The anchor continued. Hall, who described himself as a content creator, has been charged with multiple counts of product tampering, poisoning, and reckless endangerment. Authorities believe several customers were hospitalized after purchasing contaminated items. Josh walked into the room just then. He saw my face and turned to the TV. His jaw tightened. That's him, isn't it? I nodded. That's the guy. Devin came in a few minutes later, pale and quiet. It wasn't you, man, he said softly. You didn't do this. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But I couldn't shake the sound of his voice in my head. You deserve what's coming. It's been months now. I can eat again, mostly. But grocery stores feel different. The hum of the lights, the quiet aisles. They don't feel peaceful anymore. They feel like waiting rooms for something awful. I still cook sometimes, but I wash everything 3 times. I don't buy produce that looks even slightly bruised. I can't stop thinking about how easily it all happened. One man, one can of poison, one random night. And the worst part? For every Eric Hall that gets caught, how many others are out there? Filming, laughing, waiting for someone like me to walk by. Story 5. I never thought my life would lead me here, stacking boxes under flickering lights in the middle of the night, in a Walmart that feels more like a tomb than a store. 5 years ago, if you'd asked me where I'd be, I would have told you I'd still be doing construction. Back then, my hands were calloused from concrete and rebar, not cardboard and shrink wrap. But life's funny that way. It doesn't just knock you down, it keeps pressing its boot until you learn to breathe under the weight. When the housing market crashed in my part of Ohio, the company I worked for folded overnight. No warning, no severance. Just a group text saying, sorry guys, we're done. I tried everything after that. Delivery gigs, warehouse jobs, even cutting lawns for $50 a yard. But rent kept creeping up, gas prices doubled, and by the time winter hit, I was broke, exhausted, and one bad week away from sleeping in my car. That's when I saw the hiring sign outside Walmart Supercenter number 1184 in Ridgefield, Ohio. Night stalkers needed, competitive pay, immediate start. Competitive pay turned out to be $16.75 an hour. Didn't matter, I took it. The night shift manager, Rick Mathers, was a big guy. Late 40s, barrel chest, thick mustache, always holding a travel mug that smelled like burnt coffee. He had this habit of squinting at you like he was trying to see if you'd survive the graveyard shift or crack under the silence. So you okay with long nights and weird people? He asked. Define weird, I said. He grinned. You'll find out soon enough. I laughed then. Thought he was joking. I had no idea how serious he was. Night shift Walmart isn't like the day shift. During the day, it's chaos. Kids crying, carts clattering, the sound of intercoms barking out, price check on aisle 12. At night, it's quiet, too quiet. The lights hum, the freezers buzz, and the aisles stretch out like hallways in a hospital. Every sound, a squeaky cartwheel, a dropped box, echoes through the empty store. The place feels alive, but not in a human way. There's a small crew of us who keep the store running while the world sleeps. Me, Luis, Amber, and Devin, plus Rick keeping an eye on everything from the manager's office. Luis and I got close fast. He's a funny guy, Mexican-American, skinny as hell, always humming old rock songs while he works. Man, he said one night, pushing his pallet past me and frozen foods, if I have to look at one more bag of tater tots, I'm gonna quit and become a priest. At least priests get Sundays off, I said. He laughed, tossed me a box of frozen pizza, and said, ghosts like us don't get weekends, man. Just fluorescent purgatory. He wasn't wrong. It was a Tuesday night in December. Cold, windy, the kind of night where even the moon looks tired. We were halfway through the shift, just before closing at midnight. The last of the customers were trickling out, couples grabbing last-minute groceries, a trucker buying energy drinks, the usual. I was restocking the freezer section, hands half numb when I noticed her. She came in from the back doors. A woman pushing a cart so full it looked like it might tip over. I wouldn't have thought much of it except she didn't move right. Her head twitched every few seconds like she was shaking off a fly. Her skin had this strange gray pallor under the lights, and her hair, thin, oily, hanging in uneven clumps, framed her face like a shadow. She was muttering, not whispering, muttering. A steady stream of words under her breath, too low to make out. I glanced at Luis. You see her? He turned, frowned. Yeah, what the hell's in her cart? It was full, groceries, cleaning supplies, random stuff, even a pair of boots tossed on top. She pushed it slow, her steps dragging like every movement hurt. When she passed me, she stopped mid-step. Her head snapped toward me so fast I heard her neck crack. Her eyes, they were bloodshot, rimmed yellow, and unfocused, like she was looking through me, not at me. Then she smiled, a small, crooked, unnatural smile, and kept walking. Every instinct in me screamed something's wrong, but I forced myself to keep stalking. People act weird all the time. Drugs, mental illness, sleep deprivation. I've seen it all. But that look, it stuck in my head like a splinter. 10 minutes later, I saw her again, near the back restrooms. Not the big public ones up front, but the small single-occupancy one near the stockroom door. She left her overflowing cart outside and shut herself in. I sighed. Great. People sneak in there all the time, to shoot up, to steal, or just to pass out. Rick's rule was simple. Give them 20 minutes, then check. I stalked the nearby aisle and waited. 15 minutes passed. 20. At the 30-minute mark, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I knocked. Ma'am? You doing all right in there? Silence. Then a voice, sharp and shaky. Why can't you just leave me alone for 5 minutes? Ma'am, it's been over 30, I said. Store closes soon. You need to wrap up. Another pause. Then her voice changed. Angry, paranoid. You've been watching me, haven't you? You sick pervert. What? No, I'll tell your manager. You think you can spy on women while they... I backed away immediately. All right. Just finish up, okay? I left. My stomach twisted. I wanted to tell Rick, but I knew how it'd sound. Some random woman calling me a pervert? No thanks. I figured she'd leave soon enough. Except she didn't. By midnight, the last customers had checked out. Amber was counting her drawer. Devin was sweeping up near the registers. I asked them, either of you see a lady come through with a big-ass cart? Real pale, stringy hair. Amber shook her head. Nope. You sure she didn't leave? She hasn't. Her cart's still by the bathroom, Rick overheard. What lady? I explained. His face tightened. All right. Let's check. We split up. Rick checked the stockroom. Luis and I walked the aisles. The bathroom door was open now. Empty. The cart's still there. But no woman. Maybe she left through the garden exit? Luis said. I shook my head. That door's alarmed. Then I saw it. Something smeared on the bathroom handle. Grease. And a small chunk of something brownish on the floor. Chicken skin. We found her 15 minutes later. The clearance aisle lights were half off, leaving everything in a yellow haze. Her cart was tipped over, items scattered, groceries, broken glass, spilled wine, and she was crouched on the floor, tearing into a rotisserie chicken with her bare hands. She didn't even flinch when we saw her. She just kept eating, grease dripping down her arms, her mouth moving too fast, too hungry. I froze. Louis whispered, "Jesus Christ." I took a cautious step forward. "Ma'am, you can't do that. You need to." Her head snapped up. Her mouth glistened with grease and crumbs. Her teeth, broken, yellow, clenched as she grinned at me. "You!" she hissed. "You followed me." "Ma'am, please," I said, hands raised. "We just need you to leave. Put the food down and—" She started laughing. A high, wet, choked laugh that echoed through the aisle. Then she lunged. She hit me with the force of a linebacker. My back slammed into the floor. Her nails raked across my face. I could smell the sour rot on her breath as she screamed, "You won't take me! You won't take me! Luis, help!" I yelled. She clawed at my cheek, trying to bite me. Her strength was unreal, like pure adrenaline and madness rolled together. Luis grabbed her shoulders, pulling her off me. "Get off him, lady!" She twisted, snarling, and elbowed him in the face. Rick came running, tackled her from behind, pinning her down. She kicked, screamed, spat, her voice turning into animal sounds. By the time the cops arrived, it took 3 of them to get her cuffed. When they dragged her out, she was still shrieking. "You can't stop them! They're already in here! They're here!" One of the cops muttered, "Tweaker?" "Probably meth. You're lucky she didn't stab you." They found 3 used syringes in her coat pocket. They filed a report, took statements, cleaned the mess. Corporate sent a memo about incident protocol, but no one talked about what she said. "They're already in here." For weeks, I couldn't shake it. I'd walk the aisles alone at 3 a.m., and every hum, every flicker of the lights made my pulse jump. Sometimes I'd hear whispering, faint, like someone talking just out of sight. Once I found a handprint on the inside of the freezer door. Small, greasy, faint, like someone had pressed it there and vanished. Luis joked, "She cursed us, man." But I could tell he didn't really think it was funny. It happened again. A man this time, wandering the aisles, muttering, carrying a cart full of nothing but bottled water and raw meat. When Rick approached him, the guy just stared and said, "Don't stay here after 3 a.m. They come then." And he walked out. Didn't buy anything. Didn't look back. Now, every night at 3 o'clock, the air feels different, heavier, colder. Sometimes I see movement at the edge of the aisles. Just a flicker, just enough to make me look. Maybe it's my mind playing tricks. Maybe it's exhaustion. But I swear, when I walk past the clearance racks, I still hear that woman's laugh. And sometimes when the lights flicker, I see her reflection in the freezer glass. Crouched low, smiling that same crooked smile. I still work nights at Ridgefield Walmart. I still stock shelves, count boxes, and pretend everything's normal. But deep down, I know the truth. When the doors lock and the lights dim, we're not alone in there. We never were. Story 6, I never thought a night shift at a Walmart would leave me with something that would still haunt me 15 years later. Back then, I was 19, broke, restless, and trying to convince myself that life in a small southern town could still go somewhere. My name's Evan Carter, and in the summer of 2009, I was living in Greystone, Mississippi, a place where everyone knew everyone else's business, where the most excitement you got was the 4th of July parade and the occasional high school football game. My mom worked double shifts at the diner off Route 84, and my little brother, Tyler, was just turning 12. Dad had been gone since I was 6, so it was mostly me keeping the lights on while Mom worked herself half to death. Walmart was the only place that would hire me without a high school diploma. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. That big supercenter sat right off the highway, across from an empty strip mall, where the lights buzzed like dying insects. At night, when the cicadas screamed outside and the parking lot lights flickered, the place felt like it was floating in its own little pocket of nowhere. At first, I worked stock, pushing pallets, slicing open boxes, filling shelves. But after a few months, the assistant manager, Mr. Dorsey, decided I was reliable enough to handle customer service and cashier work. What that really meant was, do everything nobody else wants to do. I didn't complain. I was used to long nights, to aching feet and the hum of the fluorescent lights above me. Most nights blended together, old country songs playing too softly from the speakers, customers arguing over expired coupons, the steady rhythm of scanners beeping. But one night, everything changed. It was July 22nd, 2009, a Wednesday. The kind of hot, suffocating night where the air felt thick enough to chew. The asphalt outside shimmered under the parking lot lights, and even the carts burned your hands if you grabbed them too fast. My shift started at 4 p.m. and ran until close. By 11:45, most of the customers were gone. Just a few stragglers grabbing milk or cigarettes. The night crew had already started cleaning the aisles and restocking end caps. I remember that quiet, that stillness, the hum of the freezers, the sound of someone mopping somewhere in the distance. It was the kind of quiet that made you hear your own heartbeat. I was counting down my drawer in the small register station near the fitting rooms and apparel, a little corner of the store that always smelled faintly of laundry detergent and old perfume samples. My hands smelled of coins and sweat as I stacked crumpled bills into neat piles. I just started counting the 20s when I heard footsteps, fast, uneven, like someone running. Then he appeared. A man, maybe in his late 40s, stumbled toward me. He looked like he'd been through hell. His arms and legs were scraped raw, and there was dried blood crusted on one knee. His tank top was stained with sweat, and his old sneakers looked half burned, the rubber peeling off. He clutched a hoodie and a pair of jeans to his chest like his life depended on them. Hey, kid, he said, breathing hard. I need to buy these. Right now I blinked, caught off guard. Sorry, sir, but registers are closed back here. You'll have to go to the front. He slammed the clothes down on the counter, his eyes wide and bloodshot. I said, right now, I ain't got time to walk up front. Something about the way he said it froze me. His voice wasn't just desperate, it was dangerous. Okay, I said slowly, trying to keep my tone calm. I can ring you up here. It's fine. His hand shook as he fished a crumpled 20 from his pocket. When I told him the total, 23 and change, he just stared at me. That's all I got. For a second I thought about refusing, but his stare, cold, empty, made my stomach twist. It's fine, I murmured, sliding the bill into the drawer. Don't worry about it. He ripped the tags off right there, threw the jeans on over his shorts, tugged the hoodie over his head, zipped it up, and took off toward the doors without another word. I stood there for a few seconds, heart pounding, watching him disappear into the dark parking lot. Something about that moment. It didn't feel right. 10 minutes later, I was in the break room washing my hands when I saw the lights, red and blue flashing through the frosted glass of the back door. Then came the sound of tires screeching and doors slamming. Someone shouted, "Police!" Everyone, stay where you are. We all froze. I stepped out into the main aisle, just as 4 uniformed officers entered through the front, hands on their holsters. A tall one with a gray mustache locked eyes with me. You work here? He asked. Yeah, I said slowly. What's going on? We're looking for an escaped convict. White male, mid to late 40s, cross tattoo on his right arm, last seen wearing a white tank top and athletic shorts. You seen anyone like that? I felt my stomach drop. Yeah, I whispered. He was just here. The officer's eyes narrowed. How long ago? 10 minutes, maybe less. He bought clothes from me, jeans and a hoodie. The cop muttered a curse under his breath. Show us the footage. In the tiny security room, we huddled around a row of flickering CRT monitors. The old cameras showed everything in grainy black and white. There, I said, pointing. That's him. We watched the footage together. The man approaching my counter, handing me the crumpled bill, throwing on the hoodie and bolting out the doors. Jesus Christ, the mustached officer muttered. That's Richard Hale. Escaped from Pine Ridge Correctional Facility 2 days ago. Convicted murderer. Killed a man in Baton Rouge back in 2003. Dangerous as hell. My mouth went dry. He, he didn't even try to take the money, I said quietly. He just wanted the clothes. You're lucky, the officer said, shaking his head. You don't realize how lucky you are. They took my statement, wrote everything down, and left. The store felt different after that. The hum of the lights seemed louder, the aisles longer. I couldn't shake the image of his eyes, wide, wild, and hollow. For days afterward, I replayed the moment in my head. If I'd stalled him, maybe the cops would have caught him. If I'd refused the sale, maybe he'd have been forced to run without a disguise. Or maybe he would have snapped and killed me right there. I barely slept. Every noise outside the apartment made me jump. A week later, a news report came on the TV in the break room. A grainy mugshot of Richard Hale flashed across the screen. The anchor said he'd been captured in Louisiana, 3 counties over. He'd been hiding in an abandoned trailer behind a junkyard. They said he'd killed a man for his truck the same night he escaped. That realization hit me like ice. He'd already killed someone before he reached me. And when he stood there in front of me, sweat dripping, shaking, I was next in line. Months went by, but the nightmares didn't. Sometimes I'd see his face in the freezer doors, or I'd dream about him walking down the aisle again. Same hoodie, same stare. But this time, he didn't walk away. The worst part? I could never stop wondering if he remembered me. When he pulled that hoodie over his head, he looked up for a split second, right at me, like he wanted me to remember him too. And I did, every single night. Years later, after I'd moved out of Greystone and tried to leave that part of my life behind, I was driving through Alabama one summer and stopped at a gas station off the highway. The TV above the counter was playing one of those true crime recap shows. They were talking about Richard Hale. The host said he'd escaped again, during a transfer between prisons. This time they caught him 2 days later in a stolen car. He was older, frailer, but still dangerous. They showed a recent mugshot, and in that blurry, exhausted face, I swear, he smirked. It wasn't much, just a tiny curl of his lips, but it was enough to make me feel that same cold dread crawl up my spine. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how close we'd been, how he could have reached across the counter and ended me. He'd changed his clothes, changed his face maybe, but I'd never changed what I saw that night. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I still hear that voice. Ring me up. Right now, and I wonder if, wherever he is, he remembers the scared 19-year-old kid who handed him his new disguise and watched him vanish into the dark. Because I remember him, and I always will. Story 7. I never thought working nights at Walmart would be the thing that ruined me. Back in 2008, I was just another broke college kid trying to stay afloat. My name's Hannah Mercer, and at the time I was a sophomore at Evergreen State College in Spokane, Washington. I was majoring in sociology, hoping one day I'd work with social services, maybe help people who were stuck in the same kind of small-town cycle I'd grown up in. But dreams don't pay rent. Between tuition, my old Toyota Corolla eating gas like candy, and the mountain of student loan emails flooding my inbox, I needed money. Fast. So when I saw that the Evergreen Walmart Supercenter was hiring for the night shift, I jumped on it. Just temporary, I told myself. A few months. Just until finals are over. That was the logic. What I didn't know was that sometimes a place, especially a place that never really sleeps, can change you. It can get inside your head and stay there. I still remember my first day like it was yesterday. I'd gone in for the interview wearing a wrinkled white shirt and borrowed flats. The hiring manager, Mr. Grady, was one of those middle-aged men who always looked like he was sweating out a hangover. His tie was crooked, and his desk was cluttered with energy drink cans. "You ever work retail before?" he asked, not really looking up from the computer. "Not really, sir. Just a coffee shop on campus." "Night shift's tough," he grunted. "Less customers, but more weirdos. You think you can handle that?" I smiled, trying to sound braver than I felt. "I can handle weirdos." He looked up then, just for a second, and smiled in a way that didn't reach his eyes. "You'd be surprised what weird means around here after midnight." He slid a paper across the desk. "You're hired. Training starts tomorrow. Blue vest is in the back." The first few nights were fine, boring even. I worked inventory and apparel, restocking jeans, hanging shirts, zoning aisles. Sometimes I worked alongside Tina, a single mom with an easy laugh and a loud voice that carried across half the store. "You'll get used to the rhythm," she told me one night, scanning barcodes with the speed of a machine. "Graveyard shifts like a different world. Feels like we're ghosts in our own store." I laughed. "Yeah, like we're haunting Walmart." She grinned. "You'll see what I mean soon enough." There's something off about big stores when they're empty. The lights hum louder. The aisles feel too long, too bright. You catch yourself glancing over your shoulder even when you know no one's there. By 1 a.m., it always felt like the store was watching me. I started noticing things. Small things at first. Items moved from where I'd just stocked them. A register light flickering on, even though no one had used it for hours. Once, while restocking frozen foods, I heard the sound of a shopping cart rolling down an aisle. But when I peeked out, the aisle was empty. Tina brushed it off. "It's the air system," she'd say. "Vents make weird noises all the time." But one night, I could have sworn I saw a figure. It was near electronics, around 2 a.m. I was wheeling a cart of DVDs when I caught a glimpse of someone standing at the end of the aisle. Tall, wearing what looked like a gray jacket. He was still facing one of the TV displays. "Sir," I called out, "we're closed right now. You can't be in here." No response. When I turned the corner, he was gone. It was a Friday in late October, cold enough that my breath fogged the air as I walked from my car to the store. I was tired, midterms had wrecked me, and all I wanted was one night off. My phone buzzed. "Mr. Grady." "Hannah, it's Grady. I need you tonight." Janelle called in sick. "Sir, I've got an exam in the morning." "It's dead quiet here. Just come in for a few hours. I'll make it up to you." I hesitated, but guilt's a hell of a thing when you're young and desperate. "Okay," I sighed. "Give me 20 minutes." When I clocked in, the store was nearly empty. Just Grady, Tina, and Mark, the security guy who mostly sat behind the cameras, eating sunflower seeds. "Glad you showed up," Tina said, flashing me a tired smile. "It's been too quiet tonight." Even the self-checkouts are acting weird. How do self-checkouts act weird? They keep saying unexpected item in bagging area when there's nothing there. I laughed it off, but deep down, something about the store felt off. The air felt heavier somehow, like the silence itself was pressing down on me. Around midnight, the intercom crackled to life. Grady, over speaker. "Attention Walmart shoppers, the time is now 12 a.m. The store is closed. Please make your way to the front registers. Thank you for shopping with us and have a safe night." He always added that safe night line, like a bad habit. By 12:30, the last customers had gone. I was about to clock out when Grady's voice echoed from the other end of the floor. "Grady, Hannah, where you headed?" I held up my punch card. "Home." I already clocked out Grady. "Not yet. Janelle was supposed to stay for close. Do me a favor. Walk the aisles. Make sure no one's hiding out." "Sir, I really need to." He gave me that look, the kind that says you're replaceable. I sighed. "Fine." He tossed me a flashlight. "Check electronics last." People love hiding out there. The store was dead silent. I started at grocery, moved through toys, then apparel. Everything looked normal. But when I got to electronics, my stomach dropped. He was there again. That same man in the gray jacket, standing dead center in front of the TV wall, motionless. I froze. "Sir?" "The store's closed," I said, voice trembling. No response. His eyes were fixed on one of the screens. Some kind of video was playing, but it wasn't one of the usual demo loops. It was grainy, handheld footage, filmed in low light. I stepped closer. "Sir, you need to..." He spoke then, softly, almost tenderly. "Man, just a moment, Hannah. I'm watching my favorite movie. Every hair on my body stood up. My name tag was in my locker. How do you know my name?" He turned his head slowly toward me. His face was pale, slack, his eyes empty except for a faint, cold smile. "Man, because you're next." Before I could react, he turned and walked off down the aisle. I ran after him, flashlight beam shaking. But when I rounded the corner, he was gone. Completely gone. I stood there, heart pounding, staring back at the TV. The video was still playing. I reached behind the screen, found the DVD player, and pressed eject. Inside was a blank silver disc. Someone had written a date on it, October 21st, just 2 days ago. That night, I should have thrown the disc away. Instead, I brought it home. Maya, my roommate back then, was asleep on the couch, a blanket over her head and an empty coffee mug beside her. I didn't wake her. I slipped the disc into my old DVD player. Static, then grainy footage. What I saw made my stomach twist. The camera was shaky, the lighting dim. It showed a room, small, windowless, concrete walls. A person tied to a chair, gagged, crying. I leaned forward, my pulse hammering. The girl's face came into focus. It was Janelle, the same Janelle who had called in sick that night. Her uniform vest was ripped. Her name tag dangled from a broken lanyard. The camera panned slowly, almost lovingly, around her. Then from off-screen, the man's voice spoke. "Man, smile for the camera." What followed was too horrible to describe. Screaming, pleading, and then silence. I covered my mouth, shaking. The footage cut to black. Then another clip started. This time it was Tina. I didn't sleep that night. By dawn, I called in sick. Then I called the Spokane Police Department. 2 officers came by, took the disc, took my statement. One of them, Officer Reeves, looked uneasy as he held the DVD sleeve. "We'll investigate," he said. "Try to find out who this man is." But weeks passed. No arrests, no updates. Tina stopped showing up to work. Grady said she'd quit suddenly. Mark, the security guard, transferred. And then one morning I came in to pick up my final paycheck. The manager's office was locked. Grady was gone. No notice. No forwarding address. I quit that day. Didn't even look back. It's been 15 years. I live in Portland now. Married, 2 kids, decent job. But sometimes when I walk into a Walmart to grab something quick, the smell of the waxed floor hits me and I'm back there again. Frozen in that fluorescent light, staring at a man who shouldn't have known my name. I've looked for news stories, missing persons reports. Nothing. It's like that store and everyone in it were quietly erased. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet and I can't sleep, I think about that final clip. Right before the video ended, the camera had turned, showing a reflection in a dark window. And for just a moment, I swear I saw myself, standing in the background, wearing that blue Walmart vest, looking straight into the lens.